Hello, welcome back to Teacher Jeff 40K. I realize there's a lot of shadow here, so I'm in my living room right now, and the lighting is terrible, which is why I don't film in here. But I've got my desk right here, and what I wanted to do today was make another 2,000 point Take on All Comers list based around some of the rules changes that have happened in Chapter Approved, as well as the point changes for the Space Marines. So like I mentioned, if you've watched my video on Chapter Approved point changes for Space Marines, I mentioned that I was going to revisit my list for a couple of reasons. The ones I basically just said, some rules have changed and some points have changed. And I realized that with that old list, based around the new point changes, I actually have about 210 or 212 extra points because of point reductions. So right here, I'm going to be laying out my army. So thankfully it's in the bright part, you'll be able to see it. I've also got my calculator over here and Chapter Approved and the Codex ready to rock, so that we can calculate the points together. I think the list I've put together, it's right behind me actually. I've got it on my table back there. So let's see if the camera can like swoop over to my, oh yeah, it's behind me there. Anyways, you can't quite see it because I'm kind of blocking it, but it's all there. But that's the only preview you're gonna get. So I'm gonna put it all together for you. Explain why I put it in the list. So some of this stuff will seem a little redundant if you've watched the other video on my list, because I've already talked about it, but I have changed some units around, and I have removed or kept some of my favorite units that I think are still absolute winners when it comes to the changes or lack of changes in Chapter Approved. So what I've got, I'm still going with Salamanders. I find them to be the most well-rounded and reliable of the chapter tactics. Of course, that's arguable. I think Raven Guard are excellent just with the -1 to hit outside of 12 inches. And the others have their own benefits. I find Ultramarines to be situational. The added leadership is kind of, it's not lost, but it's not the most needed thing for Space Marines, because one, you already have high leadership, and two, you get to re-roll leadership tests. I realize leadership takes the form of other, what's the word I'm looking for? It dives into other realms of the game, like psychic tests and so on and so forth, but I don't see the use for it. The Salamanders, 1 reroll to hit and 1 reroll to wound. Every time you shoot and fight you're going to be shooting and fighting in every single game of 40K. So that's why I'm using it. So I have 3 detachments this time around. So you are allowed up to 3 detachments. So I have taken a battalion detachment, a Vanguard detachment, and I believe, yes, an Outrider detachment. So the battalion is the one with mandatory 3 troops, 2 HQs. The Vanguard is 1 HQ, 3 elites. And the Outrider is 1 HQ, 3 fast attack. I love fast attack. It's always been one of my favorites, and I think a lot of the units in the fast attack section of the Space Marine Codex are excellent. So let's get started. We'll start with the battalion detachment and the basics for the battalion detachments. So the requirements. I've got 2 HQs. So you've probably seen this guy before. He's one of my favorites. He is, I'll put him under the light here. He is a captain on a bike. He's got a Combi Melta, a Power Fist. So originally, before Chapter Approved came out, he was 131 points, the way he is stocked. But now, a captain is 88 points. A captain on bike, rather, is 88 points. Then you have to add the twin bolt gun, so 90 points. Power Fists are now 9 points, I believe. Let's just make sure. I believe they're 9 points instead of 12. Yes, they're 9 points. So we'll add 9. Oops. Okay, so we were at 99. And then a Combi Melta is 15 points, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it's 15 points now. So plus, nope, that's not what I wanted to do. So let's try 99 plus 15. There we go. So he is 114 points the way he's equipped with a Power Fist, Combi Melta, and after you pay for the twin bolt gun and the fact that he's on a bike. I like this guy a lot. I've explained it before in my Captain on Bike video, but briefly, he's tougher, he's faster, you can get the aura ability in, and he's incredibly skilled in terms of weapon skill and ballistic skill. So having a Power Fist is great, you get a very strong weapon with 4 attacks, and the Combi Melta is incredibly threatening, especially because he's fast, he can get into close range, Melta range, very quickly. He is pretty much an auto-include in all of my lists, but that's the way that I play. So I'm not saying he's an auto-include for Space Marines, but for the list I'm building, and the lists I usually build, he's pretty much always there. Then I have got a second HQ for that. This time I have brought a Tech Marine with a servo harness. So let's bring him up here. So I realize there's a lot of shadow here, but you can kind of see him here if you look. So Tech Marine with servo harness. So this guy recently became a lot more affordable. You don't pay any points for the 2 servo arms, which makes him a very cheap unit. He's 45 base, plus 5 for the plasma cutter, plus 6 for the flamer, and I've chosen to equip him with a chainsword instead of his power axe. So we add 45 points, and then 11 for the 2 weapons. And so he comes out to, I realize it says 170, that's including the captain here. So he comes out to 56 points though, which is really good. So he's ideal for repairing some vehicles, and he's got a little bit of shooting power should anyone try to come to my back lines, which is probably where I'm going to keep him. You'll see why in a second. So those are my 2 HQ choices for the battalion. Then for my troops, I've got 3. I've got a couple you've probably seen before. So I've got a scout squad, 5 scouts with bolters, 4 scouts with bolters, and one of them has a heavy bolter. So I've got those scouts there. It's a very, very cheap team. It costs 65 points. Scouts in general did not get a point reduction based on chapter approved. So we'll add the 65 points. But I'm going to add another squad of scouts with sniper rifles, and sniper rifles did get a point reduction. So this is going to be another troop unit. It's going to be 5 sniper scouts with camo cloaks, because I love the camo cloaks. So originally, this squad would have cost you 90 points, but each sniper rifle is now 2 points instead of 4. So 2 points per man cheaper is 10 points, so that comes out to 80 points for the squad. So we're at 315 right now. We've got 2 troops and 2 HQs. So we need 1 more troop to meet the mandatory requirements of a battalion. So I'm just going to have to step up. I hope you can hear me. I'm going to raise my voice. And here we go. So the last unit I picked was a 5-man team of tactical Marines. Now, tactical Marines, as I stated in my video on Chapter Approved, kind of got the short end of the stick because veterans became much cheaper, and scouts are already cheap and have a slew of useful abilities. So, kind of sucks. But this squad serves a purpose. 1, it's troops. So it's able to capture objectives better than most. And 2, I'm simply adding a missile launcher. So I've only got 1 guy with a missile launcher, and then 3 Marines with bolters, and the sergeant I've given a chainsword and bolt pistol instead of his bolt gun. So that's a free upgrade, and it allows this squad to sort of stick near my back lines, but should anything in my backlines get assaulted, we've got an extra attack from the sergeant here. So it's not the best thing, but it's also a pretty cheap option. So 65 points for a tactical squad. Let's put these guys here. And it is now only 20 points for a missile launcher as opposed to 25. So it's not a huge point drop, but that's still 20%. So 65 plus 20, 85. So let's add 85 points to this. We now have a 400-point battalion detachment. 2 HQs, 3 troops. Okay, so in addition to that, I've added a couple of other things to the detachments, but I think, yes, so what I'm going to do is in this battalion detachment, I'm going to also add 2 heavy support choices. These guys are pretty clear. You've seen them before as well. I'm just going to move this thing of pens and pencils over here. There we go. Yeah, these guys are pretty classic. They haven't really seen any point changes, but they're still incredibly useful. So, first, I have a squad of Devastators with 4 heavy bolters. So I've got 4 guys like this with heavy bolters. So we'll put them up there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we've got the sergeant. And I've added 2 extra Marines to the squad. So it's a 7-man team. So let's add 65 points for the squad, plus 40 points for the 4 heavy bolters, plus 26 points for 2 extra Marines. So now we have a squad that is very good at dealing with massed infantry at decent range. 36-inch range for these heavy bolters, plus the extra bolters on these guys can add a little bit of firepower within closer range. And should the squad suffer a couple of wounds, I have no problems getting rid of the extra bolter guys. That's what they're there for. And then the second Devastator squad will have 4 las cannons. Again, las cannons did not see any point drops, but they are still excellent, excellent, excellent models. So I have got 4 las cannons here. 1, 2, oh, running out of space with these paints. 3, 4. Same thing here, same strategy. Let's put them in front here. We'll move these things aside. Make it a little more visible here for you. So, there we go. We've got 4 las cannons. And I've done the same thing. I've added 2 extra Marines. And then the sergeant in this squad, I've given a chainsword and bolt pistol. The reason for this is this squad will most likely be in my back lines, and I'd like to have a sergeant that can add extra attacks in close combat should my opponent try to make it into close combat and sort of silence these las cannons. It's an extra attack that kind of adds to their ability to fighting a little bit more in close combat. It's not much, but again, it's a free upgrade, which is great. So chainsword instead of a bolt gun. Okay. So those are the 2 extras that I've added to the battalion. I've got 2 Devastator squads. One that is very, very adept at anti-tank or anti-heavy, anti-monster. And then one here that is very good at anti-infantry and even pretty good at anti-heavy infantry with the -1 AP on all those heavy bolters. So we've got to add the points for this Devastator squad. So that is 100 points in las cannons, plus 65 for the squad, plus 23, 26. We'll add 3 more after that. Plus 3, there we go. Plus 26 for the 2 extra guys. So we're now at 722 points. Okay, so next, we are going to add the Vanguard detachment. So that is the elite detachment. So the 1 HQ I've got for them is going to be a captain, and the captain is going to have a plasma pistol and a power fist. Again, plasma pistols and power fists saw point reductions. They're good on characters. A plasma pistol with someone who hits on a 2+ is really good, And the Power Fist on the Captain is great. You get 4 attacks. He hits on a 2+, a 3+ with a Power Fist, but it's still devastating because it's Strength 8, AP -3, and D3 damage. It's very good. So we've got, whoops, sorry pal. We've got a Captain for the HQ choice for the Vanguard. So a Captain is 74 points. And then a Plasma Pistol is 5. And then a Power Fist is 9. So that's only 14 points of equipment for a character, which is really not bad for Power Fist Plasma Pistol. It immediately upgrades both his close combat and his shooting abilities. So he's a great overall unit. Now, this means that because of the way how equipment works, he is now equipped with a bolt pistol and a plasma pistol. So a typical Captain has a chainsword, a special, I think it's a master crafted bolt gun, and a bolt pistol. I've replaced the master crafted bolt gun with the plasma pistol to sort of save points, so I'm not paying for 2 shooting weapons. So he has bolt pistol, plasma pistol, Power Fist. Then, one of the first elite choices, and it comes in a transport. And I'm doing this first because the Captain is actually going to be going in this transport. I have got a Razorback with a twin heavy bolter and a storm bolter. Now, I realize this is not the optimal build for a Razorback, but it's relatively cheap, and I'd like a little bit of more anti-infantry firepower. So I've taken this, which is 70 points base, plus 17 points for the twin heavy bolter, and then plus 2 points for the storm bolter. Will get you a Razorback with twin heavy bolter and storm bolter. That is, I believe it's 89 points for this transport. Then, in the transport, along with the Captain, I'm going to have a 5-man team of company veterans. So I've got 5 veterans here, 4 with plasma guns, and 1 with a combi plasma. So lots and lots of anti-heavy infantry. So both company veterans and plasma weaponry went down. So this unit is going to be cheaper on the whole. So each veteran is 14 points. So 14 points times 5, we're going to be getting 70 points for the squad. So we'll add 70 points for the squad. And then each plasma gun is 11 points. And the combi plasmas are also 11 points now. So the combi plasma actually saw the biggest drop from 15 to 11. So that's 55 points for each of the guns. Or sorry, 55 points for the guns collectively. So we'll add 55 for their weapons. There we go. So now we have a squad of effectively 6, if you include the Captain. And it's all plasma. He's got a plasma pistol, and he's got a Power Fist. But he's also there to benefit for the rerolls to 1 for this squad, should I want to overcharge the plasma guns and deal some extra damage. So not only do they get their reroll for being salamanders, they also get reroll 1s to hit for shooting their plasma weapons. So this becomes a very, very dangerous and reliable squad for dealing with heavy infantry or even some vehicles. Very versatile. And they're protected by a transport. So then, that is 1 elite choice and 1 HQ. So I do need 2 more elite choices for this. So I have 2 of my favorites, 2 venerable dreadnoughts. So these guys also saw point drops in both their base point cost and in their weaponry. So a venerable dreadnought is now, I believe it's 80 points. It used to be 90. Venerable dreadnought is now 80 points each. So 80 times 2 will do 160. So plus 160. Base cost for these 2 guys. And then missile launchers went from 25 to 20. So that's 40 points for 2 of them. And then twin las cannons went down from 50 points to 40 points. So that's 80 points for the 2 of them. So we are now at 1304. And we've got these two guys, and suddenly the Tech Marine's job becomes all the more clear. He is there to support these two Venerable Dreadnoughts, who will likely be in the backfield, so he can repair them. And should they be tied up in close combat, if my opponent wants to charge them and silence their guns, he can jump in and cause problems. One, he's got a great armor save of 2+. He's got the 2 servo arms, which can do a little bit of damage, but also, should my opponent charge him as well, he has got a plasma weapon as well as a flamer for auto hitting on charges. So that's going to be his job. Take care of the 2 big boys. So that is the detachment, but I also added a couple more elite choices to this. And this one you've seen in my last list, and it's almost an auto-include in all of my lists, actually, because it's a very reliable, good unit. So I've added 2 squads of Stern Guard veterans in a drop pod. So let's put the drop pod right there. Now, the drop pod saw a point reduction as well. So it is now 63 points base. Ooh, I didn't add the Venerable Dreadnoughts, of course. Wait, no, I did. I thought I didn't add those. So, like I said, 63 points. And then I've equipped it with a Storm Bolter for 2 points. So it comes out to 65 points total for the pod. Let's see, can you see the pod? Yes, you can. Okay, good. Then I have 2 5-man teams of Stern Guard veterans. They are all equipped with special issue bolt guns. So I've kind of jazzed up some of the basic bolters here to make them special issue. And each of the sergeants is equipped with a chainsword. So this means he does not get 3 attacks in close combat, but 4. So veterans also get 1 extra attack in close combat. For free, this makes them a little more dangerous in close combat. It by no means makes them a close combat unit, but it does make them more survivable if they get charged or should they charge something. And then they each have special issue bolt guns. So like the company veterans, Stern Guard veterans also dropped from 16 points base to 14 points. So here's the second squad. And here's the Sarge with the chainsword. So they are now 70 points per squad, so we'll add 140. And then each of their special issue bolt guns is 2 points, which is more than worth it for extra 6-inch range and -2 AP. Plus, there's a great stratagem in the book that really, really helps these guys out, which basically adds 1 to their wound rolls with special issue bolt guns. So that is 2 points a model, so 10 points a squad. So we'll add 20 points to this. We are now at 1529. And we have 1 more detachment to look at. And that is an Outrider detachment. So it requires 1 HQ and 3 fast attack units. So the HQ for this will be a lieutenant. So I've added a lieutenant here, and he has a special issue bolt gun, a pistol, bolt pistol, that's it, and a power fist. You can tell that I love power fists. I think they're very, 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 very good on characters. Power weapons are decent, but I like the power fist just because it does extra damage. It's very high strength. It's great AP negation. And if you hit on a 2+ normally, hitting on a 3+ with a power fist is really not that bad for 9 points. So, lieutenant-based cost is 60, plus 9 for the power fist, plus 3 for the special issue bolt gun. Unless that's gone down. I don't think it has. I don't remember seeing it. Or not special issue bolt gun, master crafted bolt gun. But no, it has not. No, master crafted power sword, no. So yes, it's still 3 points. So this guy is 60 plus 9, so 69 plus 3, so he is 72 points for this loadout. So he is not really a fast attack type guy, right? He's on foot. So typically I'll actually be keeping him either with the Dreadnoughts or maybe with some of the Devastators to lend his aura ability of reroll wound rolls of 1. And he's got a special master-crafted bolt gun, so he has a little bit of shooting potential. And again, like the Tech Marine, he's helpful in the back lines with some sort of power weapon to deal with potential charges. It's not a super huge amount of points invested in it, so if you never use the Power Fist, it's not a big deal, it's 9 points. But if you end up needing it, it's better than having a chainsword, especially with all these guns that you want to be shooting. Las cannons, missiles, all these las cannons, and this guy with the missile launcher here, the heavy bolters, and so on. I'm not saying they'll all be in the same place, but they'll likely be in the backfield. You don't want something with las cannons walking up in front, necessarily. So then we need 3 fast attack choices. So I've taken a classic, or at least a classic for me. 3 bikes, 2 Melta guns, 1 combi Melta. So bike squads went down, and so did Melta weapons. So a bike squad, or a biker, is 21 points. So that is going to be 63 points for the squad. And then 2 points each for the combi bolters, so another 6. And then each Melta gun is 14 points, so that's 28. And the combi Melta is how much? Again, Melta gun's 14 points. Combi Melta is 15, 16. Combi Melta is 15 points, so only 1 point more. Add 15 points. So we get a squad that used to be 134 points that dropped by quite a bit. So it dropped by 6 for the squad, and then an extra 6 for the 2 Melta guns, and 4. So that is 16 points dropped from this unit. So it's still quite good. It was decent but expensive at 134. Now it's just decent. Still a little pricey, but you're getting speedy Melta guns, which is great. So that's 1 fast attack. The next fast attack I've taken is another unit I usually end up taking because they're so cheap, and they've actually gotten even cheaper. A squad of 3 scout bikes. So they are only 21 points now per scout biker, plus the twin bolt guns. So that's it. So they're 23 points apiece. They used to be 25 apiece. So 23 points each comes out to 69 points for the squad. So we've got a 69-point unit that is very, very solid at dealing with light infantry. Twin bolt guns. Each guy has a shotgun as well, which they can fire as well. And they all come stock equipped with a combat blade, which makes them a little bit more effective in close combat. And they're incredibly fast. Then, one other unit I decided to take for the first time, this is mostly because of chapter approved, is a land speeder. I've got the land speeder equipped with a heavy bolter and a heavy flamer. So land speeders went from 70 to 50 points. So we'll add 50 points for the speeder, plus 10 points for the heavy bolter, and then 14 points for the heavy flamer, which also went down. So this is a 74-point unit, and it used to be 97 points. So it is now suddenly a lot more affordable. And it's pretty threatening, because it's very fast. You can zoom up and fire the heavy flamer, and the heavy flamer doesn't matter if you move and fire a heavy flamer, because it automatically hits. The heavy bolter will move and fire, so you're going to get the penalty there, but it's almost as though you're getting bonus shots for the heavy flamer. They're the same profile. So if you get into flamer range with this thing, which you very much can with a 16-inch move, you get the extra heavy bolter shots, so this can really harass certain units. So those are the 3 fast attack choices, and I've actually added 2 more. So I've added a squad of 4 more bikers. The sergeant has a chainsword, and I've equipped 2 with flamers. So this is to sort of round out the anti-infantry firepower should I come up against any big groups of guardsmen or gaunts or something. So each guy is 21 points. So that would make them, let's see, 84 for the squad. And then we've got 2 flamers, each at 6 points. So another 12. There we go. So that's not bad. We've added 12 points. Oh yes, and we need 8 more points for each of the twin bolt guns. So that brings us to 1960 for this squad of 4. So they're great at dealing with infantry because you fire not only 2 flamers, but a bunch of twin bolt guns. All the same profile, strength 4, great for trash infantry, and actually even great for things with high armor saves, just because, and that's infantry with high armor saves, not like monsters or anything, because it's just numbers. So you're going to be getting 2d6 auto hits, and then if you're within flamer range, you're getting 4 shots out of each of these guys as well. And then should you decide to charge, the sergeant has a chainsword for, again, an extra attack. It's not game-changing, but it's an extra attack, and it's free. And then finally, I've added one more unit, and that is an attack bike. Another unit which saw point drops in chapter approved. So it is 25 points base, plus 2 points for the combi bolter, and plus 10 points for the heavy bolter. So it's pretty cheap. Now, this is not going to change any games for you necessarily, but it's a great unit for late game. The reason I like it for late game is because you don't need to depend on it to do much damage. It's got a heavy bolter and a combi bolter, and I'd like to keep it more towards the back. The heavy bolter can fire out and do a little bit of damage, but by no means will it attract too much attention. And then later in the game, should you need to quickly get to an objective, you can, with something that moves 14 inches and auto advances 6 inches. So you can get a 20-inch boost out of these guys should you need to. Or you could play it another way, as a harassment unit or a support unit. So it moves alongside with this and maybe another squad of bikes to create sort of a push in one direction of the board to support the Razorback and the guys inside. You've got this guy right here. So for a very cheap unit, you get something that's very versatile and useful in a lot of situations. And this sort of goes for the scout bikes as well. They fill a similar role. So this is 1997. It's got 3 detachments, so 3 command points for being battle forged, 5 command points for a battalion, and then 1 for a vanguard and 1 for an outrider. So that is 10 command points, a nice healthy chunk of command points, without sacrificing too many unit slots so you get extra command points. So for example, I didn't go for 2 battalions, or I didn't try to go for a brigade and something else. 10 command points is healthy, plus your salamanders, so you're going to be getting rerolls for your units anyways, which is good. I've got a great balance when it comes to dealing with anti-tank or heavy. So we've got the 2 dreadnoughts, the lascannon devastators, the melta guns right here, to a certain extent the plasma in here, and the captain here has got his combi melta as well. But we've also got this support squad of tacticals in the back with a missile launcher should we need an extra shot. Then for anti-infantry and light infantry, we've got the scout bikes, the bikers with flamethrowers, the heavy bolter team. We've also got this team of scouts which has bolters, which will probably move closer to the front. And we've got this land speeder right here, with a couple of extra shots coming from maybe the attack bike. This Razorback's got it going on as well, and then of course the Stern Guard veterans, which are also good at dealing with heavy infantry. So heavy infantry, we've got, maybe it's a little weaker than the other 2, but we've got solutions for this as well. Stern Guard vets are great for that with their -2 AP. Heavy bolters do a decent job with long range and -1 AP. And then, of course, these guys here with the plasma guns, with their -3 strength 7, are excellent for dealing with heavy infantry. But we've got a couple of other things there as well. Heavy infantry can be dealt with by massed shots, so volume, even if there's no AP. So from the scout bikes, these bikers here, even the heavy flamer, and the heavy bolters, like I mentioned before. We've got troops to capture objectives, so we've got 2 squads of scouts and a squad over here of tacticals. These could probably take some back point objective and be not so threatening, but just enough to be useful. Capture an objective, fire a missile each turn. And then these guys can create a little bit of board control as they are able to deploy farther out from your deployment zone. We've got a little bit of deep strike, but not too much, because we can only deep strike on turn 2 and turn 3. But getting 2 squads with -2 AP ammunition, and they're able to reach out to 30 inches, is quite good. It allows you to solve a problem in turn 2 and 3 after the game has sort of shifted around you, but it also doesn't keep too much of your stuff off the board. This is a great little solution, or I'd say a medium solution, to drop down and cause problems. Stormbolter inside here also lends a couple of shots, which is nice. And we've got snipers to target characters should we need to. And yes, we've got basically a large back line with some stuff to cause havoc up front. So back line, typically you'd be seeing las cannon devastators, this squad with the missile launcher, these 2 right here, and probably the tech marine and the lieutenant. And then moving forward, you would have bikes, this squad, maybe him, and the land speeder, with the heavy bolter devastators somewhere in the middle, along with the 2 squads of scouts. So again, able to deal with a variety of situations, massed infantry, some heavy stuff. Again, like the previous list, I don't have a lot for dealing with psychers, but I would rather not, it's go big or go home, I find, with psychic support. So it's either take a bunch of psychic support or take none. And to be honest, I'd rather not sacrifice, say, a captain, a lieutenant, the tech marine, or my other captain on bike for a psyker to potentially deny powers or add some other things. I'd rather have reliability in shooting, because that is the majority of my army is shooting. There is a little bit of close combat mixed in, but it's mostly defensive. So we've got a couple of power fists. They can deal with some things should they need to, but it's not really their go-to job. So that's why I haven't spent too many points on close combat. We've got a couple of chain swords around for extra attacks, and then we've got 3 power fists throughout the list to sort of round out the characters and properly take advantage of their stat line. So this is the list I've put together. I've changed a couple of things, but I've added a couple of things as well, and kind of modified it so that we get a full just about 2,000 point list for chapter approved. So I hope this helps illustrate how the points now work a little bit in chapter approved, and how it goes for simply building a list as well. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.